Welcome back to Agritecture Travel-Free Digital Conference Series. I'm Alberto Lopez, Systems Engineer for Agritecture, and we have today Roland Sier from Nutrient Services, and he's going to talk about abiotic stress and mineral fortification to improve vegetable quality. Welcome, Roland, and yeah, you can start sharing your screen.
So yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to speak here. And yeah, just a short introduction about myself. I'm a horticulturalist. I studied in Berlin and Vienna. I'm originally from Germany, but moved to Cyprus because of the good climate, and you can grow anything here. And Cyprus is a very interesting spot in terms of hydroponic production. There's some issues with water, like water scarcity. And so that's a very interesting spot here. And I provide my knowledge and consult hydroponic farms. There's a bigger operation here. And yeah, it's about nutrients, especially like providing nutrient solutions. And also, for example, for citrus fruits, providing nutrients so you get that very nice green leaves, and also you have that juicy and nice lemons. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the presentation. So it's about improving quality of vegetables and medicinal plants through abiotic stress and mineral fortification. So now just a short overview, what you're going to hear for the next 15 minutes. So first, what are the benefits? Then a definition of quality. Minerals and fortification, what is it and what's important? Then abiotic stress, what is it in general and how can you use it? Own experiments I did it with microgreens, especially. Then there's a conclusion and of course the references at the end. So first, what are the benefits? So benefits are you have a higher yield and or higher quality without decreasing the yield. And it's a very simple and cost-effective solution to achieve this. So when I talk about quality, what do I mean by that term? So basically there are three main parts of quality. First, it's the safety. So you don't want to have any residues like pesticides, toxicant, heavy metals, everything like that. Bacterial contamination, also a topic in leafy greens, for example, if they're cut. We have the inner quality, we have metabolites and minerals. On these I will focus. Also another part of inner quality would be texture. Outer quality is something like size, shape, and color. But metabolites and minerals are really interesting, and that's the healthy stuff we can consume. So just about minerals and fortification, the general idea is that mineral fortification adds certain minerals to the plants and therefore increases the nutritional value of the crop, just like a top-up for your plant. And we need about 22 different mineral elements, and all of them can be supplied to humans by an appropriate plant-based diet. And it's not always as easy to supply, to get all these minerals, but in developed countries it's okay. But over half of the world's population are deficient in one or more nutrients of the following, like for example calcium, iron, iodine, more. And this affects mostly pregnant women and preschool children, and it's most likely in like developing countries. For example, in Asian countries where a lot of rice is consumed, they tend to have a zinc deficiency because the zinc, so the rice plant can take up zinc, but it's most likely it's most of the time found in the rice husk and not in the grain. So people just eat the pure white grain, which is just more or less carbs, and there are no really micronutrients in there. So mineral fortification, how is it done? So basically you can top up with minerals through fertilization. It's possible in soil and hydroculture, and or you can do it via foliar application. So that's just spraying on the leaves. You need a special mineral solution. You add some surfactants, for example, and then you can just spray it on the leaf surface and the plant will take it up. On the top picture, you can see such a spray bottle, for example. and you just spray your leaves, and you have to make sure there's some things to consider, like humidity, what kind of mineral salts do you use, how's the plant. It's most suitable, or it's suitable for most crops, but not all, but there's some tricks to do it. In the bottom picture, you can see a controlled environment farming. It's a vertical farm here in Cyprus, and they grow leafy greens and edible flowers. And they wanted to do experiments with other crops. And they came to me and asked, hey, how can we do it? We want to grow some strawberries just for fun. We want to try it. And yeah, so we thought never change a winning team. So we have that nutrient solution for all their crops, and we have everything in place and everything grows well. So I said, okay, instead of changing this, we do just a foliar application because the strawberries need more iron. So we just take an iron solution, spray it on the leaves, and strawberry plants are happy and are growing really well. So that's one possibility to do it with mineral fortification. So the mineral fortification is just a top-up, and now I will come to the other topic. It's abiotic stress. So about abiotic stress, what is it? So abiotic means that the factor is non-living. So it's like water, wind, radiation, nutrients. And stress means that one of these growing factors exceeds or falls below a certain range. So if that happens, the plant has two options. It can either grow and say, like, I don't care, just grow, continue growing, or it can defend. And when you get to that defense mechanism, that's where it's getting really interesting. So the plant can defend via phytochemicals. They're also called secondary metabolites. And these secondary metabolites, they have striking health promoting properties. So you can see here some chemical structures. You can see the basic structure of anthocyanins and flavonoids at the top. They're related to each other, and they're responsible for reddish and purple colors. For example, when you have berries, there are a lot of anthocyanins in there. When you have an apple, you might have seen that one side of the apple is more reddish than the other one. And this indicates that the side with the red part was most likely exposed to sunlight. And to prevent, the plant tries to prevent itself by building these flavonoids on one side where the sun is, so the UV radiation is blocked. And there's another very interesting substance called glycosinolates. You can see the structure at the bottom. And everybody knows how they taste, but nobody knows the name and what it is. For example, when you eat horseradish, wasabi, stuff like this, all in the Brassicaceae plants, they have these glycosinolates, and they're very spicy. So when you eat a horseradish, you know that it blows your nose and it's getting and stuffs your nose, and that's because of this substance. These substances show very interesting health promoting properties. For example, glycosinolates have impact on our digestion system, and they can prevent colon cancer, for example. Anthocyanins and flavonoids are antioxidants and can bind radicals which could harm cells, for example. So they can just take them up and then they cannot do any harm. So now about some own experiments I did. I did glycosinolate elevation through UV light treatment in microgreens. And as microgreens, I used broccoli and pak choi. These broccoli and pak choi are from the Brassicaceae species, so they naturally have these glycosinolates. So we had a control group and a UV treated group. And in both cases, with broccoli and pak choi, we could elevate the content of glycosinolates. So we had a direct impact on the microgreens. And if you consume these treated microgreens, they're healthier than the normal ones. Microgreens in general are pretty healthy, but you can get even more out of them. And that's the thing. So you want to have the best product, the best quality without decreasing the yield, which is possible, and we showed that with this experiment. Another thing is another use of abiotic stress would be phosphorus deficiency. So this is an experiment by Professor Christoph Martin Galfus. I had the luck to be his assistant while I was studying in Berlin, and he did an experiment with phosphorus deficiency, and this causes a kind of traffic jam in the carbon transport of the leaves. So when you have a look at the leaves, the left one of the Pak Choi is normal as you know it, like everything's, all the leaf veins are white, the leaf looks green, really normal. On the right-hand side, you see a bit purple color. So it's getting purplish, the stem and also the leaf veins, part of the leaves also getting that purplish color. And that's because of formation of anthocyanins. They're formed and serve as a carbon sink. So photosynthesis can continue and the plant just can go on. So what's happening here is that the treated ones with the phosphorus deficiency become extremely elevated in nutritional value because these anthocyanins are antioxidants. So when we consume them, we get that benefit, and we have that substances in our body that can attract and bind radicals, which is a very interesting topic in terms of, for example, providing cancer. So they show these anti-cancerogenic properties. So just the conclusion. So mineral fortification can boost nutritional value due to increased mineral content. There are a lot of them. For example, you can apply calcium, iron, zinc, iodine, magnesium, and selenium. You can do it via fertilization in soil and hydroculture, or even via foliar application, that's the spraying on the leaves. You need special but simple equipment and additives. Special equipment would be like the spray bottle, and additives are certain surfactants. They break the surface tension, for example, and are used so that the spraying solution covers a wider area of the leaves. So you have not just single droplets, more like a water film on top of the leaves. It's suitable for many crops. Most of the plants can take it up. It depends on some factors like humidity and if the stomata openings are on the top as well. And this method does not affect yield. It's just a top up for your plant. You just give them extra nutrients, they will take them up, and everything's fine. Then we have the abiotic stress. Abiotic stress can boost the nutritional value due to increased healthy substances called secondary metabolites. These secondary metabolites are antioxidants, and this is achievable by diverse factors like salt stress, drought stress, thermal stress. Even wounding is a possibility. UV radiation, like I showed you with the microgreens, and specific nutrient deficiencies. So phosphorus deficiency is very interesting in that topic. This is a bit tricky, so you need precision if you want to do it. It's the best to do it in a controlled environment. But yeah, you have to take many things in account, like the humidity and so on. You can naturally, when you grow something outside, they already have that stress, like tomatoes grown outside in your garden, they already have that UV radiation, and the plant will adapt to it and tomatoes get tastier. So that was a problem in the Netherlands when they built the greenhouses at the beginning. The greenhouses were too good and the tomatoes did not taste like anything. So they had to implement some UV lights, for example, to stress the plants to get the taste of the tomatoes back. This method has minimal to no impact on yield. So here it's about the precision. If you stress your plant too much, it will decrease in yield. And yeah, it's just to find the right balance. That's very important here. So here are the references I used, and I want to highlight some sources. For example, the book, Improving Quality of Vegetables and Medicinal Plants. This was a project by Professor Galfus and some students, and they contributed to this book. I contributed as well. I did the part about biofortification, for example. And then there are other books and papers like nutrient biofortification of food crops, and the foliar fertilization is also really interesting and goes really deep into the topic about foliar fertilization. So thank you very much. And if you want to get in touch with me, that's how you can contact me.
Thank you very much, Roland, for the presentation. Really interesting. I have a couple of questions. You were talking about foliar fortification or foliar fertilization. Does it work for every nutrient that the plant needs, the foliar fertilization?
It's not working for every nutrient. So first they have to be, they need to be absorbed by the leaf, and they have to be mobile in the plant. So usually foliar fertilization is done with calcium, iron, iodine. For example, I would not fertilize phosphorus through foliar application. That doesn't make sense. It's also used in large-scale agricultural production, for example, with I think it's magnesium sulfate. Yes, so it's about the sulfur component, also for the Brassicaceae plant types. But it's just the fertilization is just more a top up, or if you have a deficiency you want to fight really quick. So the basic fertilization comes from soil, or the basic nutrients come from soil or nutrient solution.
So it can be like for local deficiencies, like for immediate deficiencies that you need, because then my next question was going to ask, so are there like studies between like soil fertilization and let's say this top fertilization? So what will be like the most efficient way to fertilizer? And now, well, you explained that it's, I guess, is the most expedited way to fertilize, like just spraying on top of the plant, right?
Yeah. So your question is about the how quick. It's a sort of bright comparison between soil or via the roots and leaf. So when you have that deficiency in the leaf, it would be the most direct way to just spray it on the leaves and not give it. For example, when you provide that fertilizer to the soil, just has to be taken up by the root. It has to be delivered through all that plant until it reaches the top leaves, for example. When you just spray it, they're already there. The uptake is faster, but it depends also on the nutrient mobility. So some nutrients are mobile within the plant, others are not. It's more direct and quicker to do a foliar application if the nutrient is, if it's possible to fertilize it via the foliar application.
Okay. And then my other question was about the abiotic stress. So you were, well, in your experiments, you tried to stress the plant with UV, right? Can you get that same effect by altering other abiotic factors?
So, for example, an increase of anthocyanins, you have different approaches to do this. So, for example, you can use the UV radiation. You can use a salt stress. It's also possible because with salt stress, the plant, there's a formation of reactive oxygen species within the plant. These are radicals. So the plant tries to defend by these radicals by forming these secondary metabolites as well. And also, like in the presentation, the phosphorus deficiency is also a way. There are numerous ways to do it. The plant has always its special, like the biochemistry behind it. So they see, okay, there's a stress, we have radicals, we build this. So it always comes to one part. And depending on what you want, you can use a different stress, but you have some to choose from.
Okay, that's really interesting from the cost of the solution, like from the point of view of the costs, of the economic cost. What I'm talking about is like if you are trying to produce that same effect using UV light, you will be using energy, right? You will be adding energy. But if you produce that same stress, removing some nutrients, then you will be saving up on nutrients. So I guess
Mhm.
like the best solution or the best stress will be the optimal stress will be to induce that same result, but using less resources, right?
Yeah.
And are you
So
doing
that
some
would
studies
be
on
win-win.
this topic, on resource management for stress in plants?
Um, I haven't done any studies. I'm sure there's some comparisons you can find online. So it depends what you want to achieve. So the super simple method would be just to put a lamp in there. Of course, you have to buy that lamp. It requires electric energy. By just removing the phosphorus, for example, from the nutrient or reduce it drastically, it's also possible. The thing is, how's your production cycle? How do you grow? Do you have different plants there in there as well, and you just want to fortify your pak choi for whatever reason, and you don't want to have an impact on your edible flowers? So these are things you have to consider. But yes, there are win-win situations you can create.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Really interesting. And then to all our viewers, just you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, you can follow Roland as well at Roland Sier. Thank you very much, Roland.
Thank you, Alberto.